So about the JCPOA, then, this has obviously been a deal that was heavily criticized for being too lenient and not achieving anything. Trump absolutely loathed it. But from my understanding, the approach and sort of blueprint that the US administration had for a new one was essentially the same, just re-engineered in slightly technical areas. And it reminds me of the NAFTA agreement when he basically just created the same thing, but just put USA at the front and changed the name. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong here, but is there
Yeah.
a little bit more to this deal? Yeah, I just on that point actually, I'm just reading here some of the latest updates, and there's not really any confidence. I had hoped that this might draw down just because then I could have a sort of sense of normality again and then get a good night's sleep. But
That day.
yeah, you and me both, right? But no, one person. A lot of people just think Trump's buying time as they prepare for this new phase, right? Boots on the ground. But just to expand on this point a little bit, and get your take on it, is simply the U.S. public has no appetite for this conflict, but specifically, they have no appetite, definitely, for boots on the ground. I think there's like 7% of Americans overall have any support for a big ground operation, whilst I think maybe 15%, pretty clearly not on board with a limited ground operation. So maybe the air can airborne or a troop number of 10,000 people. Is Trump trying to buy time? And if so, is it for a ground operation? How much can that really make a difference? Well, you mentioned Clausewitz, and as he said, war is but politics by other means. And I want to ask you a little bit about the political side of this, because one thing that I thought was quite interesting pointed out to me was that Vance, up until now, I don't know if something's changed, he was relatively mute. He's obviously pretty, yeah, hey, let's go for it. But in this regard, he's obviously not a big fan of it. And a lot of speculation always comes to, is he going to be the inheritor of the MAGA movement? Him versus
Like a
Rubio
Rubio.
for the 28. Yeah. So what do you think's going on inside MAGA, inside the administration? Because there's clearly a big division within the administration, let alone the MAGA movement itself. Why, it's insane. I mean, I hadn't heard of that. I wrote this down also though, because what you said during earlier in our conversation reminds me of what Defense Secretary Jim Mattis said earlier today, that the US would effectively cede control of the Strait of Hormuz if the US decides to end the Iran war now, or call a ceasefire, because I'm pretty certain that Israel will continue operations regardless of what the Americans do. What do you think about Mattis's comments? Do you think that they would effectively cede control to the Iranians? Yeah, I think it's interesting, really, that he, despite everything that he's claimed about being the peace president or peacemaker,
Ah,
and if ever year forever wars being ended, he's initiated one of the biggest consequential ones of modern times.